Have you ever wondered why furniture are so expensive? Furnishing a home can be both an exciting and daunting task, especially when faced with the high price tags associated with quality furniture. In this video, I'm going to break down why quality furniture costs so much, why sometimes cost does not translate to quality, and how you can furnish your space with quality items without overspending. It's really no surprise that the high cost of furniture is primarily driven by material cost. Take any wood products as an example. There's generally three levels of quality: composite materials like MDF, engineered wood like plywood, and lastly, solid wood. Solid wood products, particularly hardwoods, are the most expensive and likely to last longer. Not necessarily forever, but the base should be good enough quality that it can be refinished or repaired. Engineered wood is somewhere in the middle in terms of quality. Plywood, for example, is constructed from thin layers of timber that is laid out in opposite directions and laminated together, which makes it strong and resistant to warp. Composite materials like MDF, otherwise known as medium density fiberboard, is made from resin and recycled wood fibers. It's cheaper and easy to work with, but its strength is not fantastic. Below that, you also have things like particle board, which is essentially compressed wood particles. Then, when it comes to fabrics, cost is mainly driven by fiber type, so whether it is a natural or synthetic fiber. For example, a wool rug is always going to be more expensive than a polyester one. There's also the complexity of the weave, whether the fabric is treated or untreated. Say, for example, if it is treated to prevent UV damage or stains, and also the rub count. This is a measure of how durable the fabric is. Generally, the bare minimum rub count for a sofa upholstered seat is 15,000 double rubs, and the higher that number, the more durable the fabric is. I have a whole video on buying a sofa, which covers the build, material, and everything else you need to know about buying sofas. Similarly with stones, you also have a wide variety which ranges a lot in price. But here's the kicker. Expensive material does not always mean higher quality. Many times, a bigger factor is rarity, or how easy it is to get said material. Take timber for example. Both mango wood and walnut have similar quality in terms of hardness, at roughly 1000 Janka rating, which is a measurement used to determine the resistance of wood to denting and wear. But mango wood furnitures are much cheaper than their walnut counterpart, because it only takes the tree 15 years to mature versus walnut at 30 to 50 years. Mango trees produce fruit and will be cut down once mature, and they can be easily replaced with newer ones. This means there's a good stream of supply, whereas walnut trees have less supply and more demand. And then you also have exotic woods like rosewood or ebony, which cost multiple times of walnut due to how rare they are, not because of their durability. You can see how material costs significantly affect the retail price of these cane dining chairs by Serena and Lily and Walmart respectively. One is $728, while the other one is a set of two for $353. The Serena and Lily chair has brass caps on the legs and the build is from mahogany, which is an expensive hardwood, versus the cheaper ones which only states rattan and linen. It also has performance fabric, which may contribute to the higher cost. Plus, you can also customize the fabric. Now, whether that is worth almost 4 times the cost or not, that is up to you to decide. But in this case, there's definitely a difference in material and overall quality. The same goes with this tufted leather bench. The more expensive one is made from genuine leather and is slightly longer at 55 inches compared to 48 inches. It costs $600 compared to $120. You can definitely see the difference in material quality just by looking at them. Beyond materials, the way furniture is constructed also plays a huge role in its cost. The fast fashion model is also increasingly being used in the furniture industry, with big players like IKEA, Walmart, and Target only getting better at mass manufacturing better looking but lower quality furniture. This makes well-made, high-quality furniture looks extremely expensive in comparison. And now consumers are unsure why they should pay more than the very low prices that places like IKEA can present. Like, you may be wondering why you'd invest $1,600 into a wooden industrial desk when you can practically get the same thing, even down to the triangular details in the metal legs, for only $310. But the difference here is build quality. Yes, I'm aware that the screenshot is taken from Crate & Barrel Overseas website, because at the time of editing this video, they've removed it from the US website. But this is a great example, because the more expensive one is made from solid black walnut, while the budget option is made from particle board and veneer. You can also see from the product images that the more expensive option has dovetail joints, which is considered to be the holy grail of woodworking joints. With any wood furniture, the connections are a major signifier of quality. There's so many ways to join wood, and the least expensive by far is the butt joint. For example, particle board and MDF furniture are usually basic or mitered butt. This is something to keep in mind, especially if you like shopping for vintage pieces, because wood joining is a skill as old as time. On the other hand, there are also times that you have to be aware that two of the same things can have a significant difference in price. Take these two entryway organizers as an example. Both made out of bamboo, with similar size and build, but one cost about 5 times more than the others. So where does the difference in price go? Well, the answer is unfortunately the company's profit, which I know we all hate to hear. So this leads to the question, how do you know if you're buying quality or getting ripped off? The answer to that is to double check on the price before buying, which I'll show you how towards the end of this video. Then, there are also other details that signify quality but also comes with a more expensive price tag. Things like nicer hardwares rather than a simple bar pull or nickel knob, or features like soft closing drawers which are becoming more and more common. Specifically for sofas, you'll see a kiln-dried wood frame and a good suspension system with hand-tied springs rather than a hammock or webbing system. Following this, custom or handmade pieces generally are higher quality and come with a higher price tag compared to mass-produced items. The craftsmanship and attention to detail required to create these pieces, plus the labor required, result in increased costs and longer production times. Again, I think that there's often a lack of understanding about why these pieces can have such high price tags. As consumers, many of us have become accustomed to the lower prices of mass-produced goods, but the higher costs reflect not only the labor, skill, and superior materials involved, but also the uniqueness of custom furniture, which is often one of a kind and made to perfectly fit your space. We commissioned a local maker to do a custom slider screen in one of our past projects, and a custom joinery to fit perfectly into an existing joinery, both of which wouldn't be possible with something that is ready-made, not to mention how beautiful the detail of this timber screen is. This is one example where custom or handmade pieces can be worth the investment. Another point that I'd like to add on is that many fast fashion furniture are produced in factories offshore with cheaper labor, and often in places where workers have poor working conditions. This helps drive down costs, but unfortunately often at the expense of others. The worst part is that there are also companies out there that make bad quality furniture, but charge a bit more to have a higher profit margin. I don't want to name names here because I don't want to get into trouble, but if you're in the US, a good example will be this company with a common person's name that starts with an A and ends with a Y. Many of these companies can survive because most people don't know any better. Plus, it's convenient to just rock up to the nearest stores and be done with your home in under an hour. Of course, I've always said that this is something you should avoid if you want a beautiful home, because buying sets from big box store is not the way to go. Many companies, however, have placed more focus on producing their furniture ethically. And there's also an increasing focus on using sustainable materials. B Corp certified businesses like Armadillo, Room and Board, and Eva are great examples of this. They're never the cheapest, but in my opinion, you're getting good value for the price. You can also look into labels like Fairtrade or FSC certified wood to ensure you're supporting ethical practices, if that is something you care about. Then you have IKEA. They've always placed focus on an efficient supply chain, plus minimizing labor costs, as consumers like us will be the ones building the furniture, which is why you're often getting a better bang for buck there. I'd encourage you to look for their solid wood pieces, which I think are incredible value and can last for a very long time. Finally, you have the designer brands like B&B Italia and Ligne Rosé. These brands cater to the high end, and their prices are a result of not just quality, but also the experience and service you're getting in store, plus the premium that the brands charge themselves. This is different for everyone, as one person may place more value on one thing than another. But in general, my guideline is to spend more on things that are between yourself and the ground. So things like bed, sofa, bed frame, armchair, and office chair, to name a few. I'll also be inclined to spend a little more and get better quality for things I use the most. In my case, it is my bed and bed frame and office chair, as I spend roughly 75% of my days there. Next, and more importantly, is the fit, comfort, and function. These are the 3 factors that I highly encourage you to consider. When choosing things like shoes, you wouldn't go for something that is several sizes too big or too small, nor would you choose heels or Oxfords for running. Similarly, I think we can all agree that certain clothes are better suited for certain function, Like wearing a tank top and slipper to a corporate job interview will probably be ridiculous. But for some reason, when it comes to interior design, these choices are just not as clear-cut. We tend to abandon reason and simply choose things because they're on sale, trendy, cheap, or because they're readily available, rather than considering whether they'll work well in our space or not. But the irony is that doing this often ends up costing more in the long run. And trust me, it is not fun looking at the dresser or console that clearly does not suit your space every single day. So, make sure that the furniture piece fits your space, is comfortable to use, and functional for you. For example, if you have a bunch of small knickknacks by your bed, perhaps a bedside table with a drawer is a better choice than one without. If you like to sit cross-legged on the sofa, maybe a deep seat is better than a standard one. Then of course, consider the material and build quality. Expensive does not always equate to quality. And conversely, not everything that is affordable is trash. So I always encourage you to check the build quality and materials rather than just purely making a decision based on the price. Ripped off is a strong word, and I think this only applies when you can get the exact same thing a lot cheaper and at the same convenience somewhere else, which often happens with things that are white labeled. But in general, many furniture pieces are expensive for a reason. Having said that, I think the diminishing return does apply here, like how it does for many things in life. Past a certain price range or material quality, each dollar spent becomes less and less impactful. In fact, you probably need to double or triple the price to get any meaningful upgrade. Take these shelves as an example. You can see that they're both quite similar in design, each featuring 5 brown wooden shelves with matte black metal side rails. However, one costs over 2.5 times more than the other. The pricier shelf is from Rejuvenation Holgate, with solid wood shelves and steel side rails. In contrast, the more affordable shelf is from CB2 Stairway, which uses lacquered engineered wood shelves and powder-coated aluminum side rails. You can already see why the CB2 one is so much cheaper. They've used lower quality materials. But another thing that most people don't think too much about is construction quality. The Rejuvenation shelf has brackets that are routed flush into the wood, a high-end detail, while the CB2 shelf uses notches rather than hardware connections. Although the CB2 shelf's material are durable, and its connection should be fine as long as you don't overload it, the Rejuvenation shelf is not a rip-off. If you value high-quality materials and want a piece that will look great for decades with proper care, the Rejuvenation shelf might be worth the investment. At the end of the day, it depends on where your priorities lie. On the other hand, there are also times when you can find the exact items or at least very similar quality for much less. Take these two upholstered poofs. They're pretty much identical, but one costs almost double the other. Or this round coffee table. They're in fact identical because you can see they're both from Saint-Vallier, but one retailer is selling it for 50% more than the other. As I've mentioned before, not all the time you have the same exact item for less. Sometimes there are dupes that look alike but are much cheaper, like this black curved flush mount as an example. It is priced at $416 from Tuesday Made, while you can get an almost identical item for $70 from Amazon. The cheaper one has a metal canopy, while the ones from Tuesday Made are made of real bronze. Whether the price difference is worth it is up to you to decide. But you can imagine how each of these costs can stack up significantly when you have to purchase a whole house worth of furniture and decor. Nobody likes paying more for the exact same thing. So one thing I like to do is use Google Lens or image search to shop around for a better price. If you use Google Chrome, you can simply right-click on the image and search with Google Lens. Otherwise, you can simply download the photo or take a screenshot, and then upload them to images.google.com to find items that are comparable. I've put together a written guide for this which is easier to follow. You can check it out in the description box below. Not everything will have a dupe, as many products are original designs, but sometimes you'll be surprised just how much you can save. I also like to use this trick to find similar looking products. So if you find a piece that you like but they're out of your price range or not available in your country, you can use the image search to find something that looks similar. Above all, I've always encouraged people who are on a budget to shop for vintage or second-hand items, especially when it comes to case goods and accent pieces like lamps or vases. I bought this sideboard from a vintage shop and saved almost 10 times for something that looks identical to it had I bought it new. Or this giant table lamp which cost me only $25, and this original artwork which cost me $5. I've made a video on how to have a well-decorated home on a $0 budget, So check that out if you're interested. By understanding what drives furniture costs and implementing smart shopping strategies, you can furnish your home beautifully without overspending. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video where I covered everything you need to know when buying a sofa, and this video on how you can decorate your home on a budget. Happy decorating and savvy shopping, and I'll see you in the next one.